For my 15th skeleton clock, I'm going to use this old German movement. The movement itself dates to around, I'd say, 1925, 1930. What you see in this picture is how I actually bought it. I never got a case with it or anything, it was just this movement as it is. The following photos, the 20-minute vid, will show you this being turned into a skeleton clock. As you can see here on this back plate, there is quite a bit of tarnish. It looks like it's been a long time since it had a home. Before I strip the movement, I take any tension that there might be in the springs out. That's the spring ratchet removed. This movement's good. I can actually now take the springs, or the spring barrels out should I say, before I start stripping the movement. That's the spring barrels out of the movement. I'll take the actual main springs out when I finish stripping. The following few photos will show you the movement being taken apart. I'll flip the movement over to finish and complete the strip from this back plate. The back plate is about to be removed. I should have mentioned earlier in the vid about these arrows that I'm putting up. All I'm doing is just highlighting how dirty and grimy and how long it's been since this movement's been looked at. That's the movement stripped. The next job is to get the springs out of their barrels. With the dust cover removed from the barrel, I place it in my spring winder, and what I'll do is I'll wind it tight so I can get a retainer over it. Like so. I can then twist the mainspring out of its barrel. It then goes back in the spring winder so that I can get the retainer off it. Like so. That's both mainsprings done. Not happy with the springs at all. They definitely need replacing, so I will be ordering new ones. What I'm aiming for is to reduce as much as possible any friction within the movement. I start this process by polishing the wheel pivots in my lathe. This that I've arrowed, you can just about see, is a wheel pivot. And this is the same pivot after me giving it a good polish. A few photos to follow, showing you some of the others being done. To be fair, the plates are in pretty good condition. This one requires one repair, which I've highlighted. And this plate, just the one repair as well. To fix the worn pivot hole, I first open it up by hand. To suit a new brass bush, put my teeth back in, that I'll press in. I then polish out the brass bush to suit the wheel pivot that locates at that point. A couple of photos to show you the other being done. I have it in mind that the finished movement is going to be mounted between two brass plates. Not sure what it's going to look like yet, but that's the idea that I've got. To facilitate this, I need to remove the movement pillars, the pillars that are in between the two brass plates, and what you can see here in this photo is where I've started to remove one of the pillars. I do have to remove all four. And that's all four pillars removed. What you're looking at in this photo is the front and back plate, and I've highlighted in red the material that I'm going to be removing from the plates to give it that skeleton clock look. I do make this up as I'm going along a little bit, but the next few photos will show you this material being removed. Still needs touching up and polishing, but that is roughly what the plates are going to be like. It should look pretty good, I hope, when they're put back together. Here I'm tidying up the pendulum bob. I'm going to drill holes into the main spring barrels. Sounds a bit drastic, but it's so that you'll be able to see the springs through the barrels once the movement's completed. Now these are those clock plate pillars that you saw me removing earlier. What I'm going to do is the end that was riveted through the plate, the front plate, I'm going to drill and tap out so that I can put a screw in. When I'm boxing the movement back up, I can bolt it through the front plate. You'll see what I mean as I'm going along. The next couple of photos will show you this being done. And that's all four of the pillars finished and polished and done. That's everything finished. All the parts have been hand cleaned and polished. You can see the plates in the top left there, they're now done. What remains now is to put it together and keep our little fingers crossed that it works. That's the pillars mounted to the front plate. These are the two new mainsprings. What I'm going to do is lightly coat them using a special grease. The following few photos will show you these being put back into the mainspring barrels. And that's the movement finished. What I'll do is test it for 2 or 3 weeks, do fine adjustments, make sure it's working, that there's no glitches with the plates that I've shaped, and that everything works okay. So 2 or 3 weeks, I call this the first test. We'll be back soon. I mentioned earlier that I was going to mount the movement between 2 brass plates. This photograph is showing you a drawing of what I'm thinking I'm going to shape the front and back plate, and the movement will mount in between this. So what I'm going to do is transfer this drawing onto the brass plates. You can see one of the plates behind the drawing, and the next few photos will show you me actually just shaping them, polishing them and getting it finished. Here I'm starting to make a couple of posts or pillars that will sit between the 2 plates that I've made at the bottom, and I'll be using these pillars to mount the whole movement within the glass dome. This is an old chapter ring that I've had lying around for quite a few years now. I'm going to tidy it up. Must get new teeth. I'm going to tidy it up, and this is going to be what you're going to tell the time by. The following few photos will show you now the movement being mounted in between these 2 plates and the chapter ring being fitted. I call this my second big phase. After I've done this, I will again put it back on test for 2 or 3 weeks to make sure it's okay. As you can see, I haven't actually mounted the chapter ring yet, and also if you notice, I've changed the hands. I thought these were a lot nicer, a bit more shaped, suit the clock a bit more than the original ones from the first test. The movement here will go on test again for another 2 or 3 weeks. I always overly test everything, so it'll go on test for another 2, 3, even 4 weeks, and then we'll see where we're at. Now I'm going to mount the chapter ring. The next few photos are going to show you me finishing the skeleton clock off. The base, I'm going to mount the plinth you can see on the left into the base. Before doing that, I'm going to stain the base. The reason for putting the plinth in is it'll look slightly better, it'll lift the clock up. I need to mount feet to the base, I've got to mount a gong, and obviously I've got to mount the clock itself into it. Let's go. And that's my 15th skeleton clock finished. Thank you so much for watching this video, and really thank you for giving it a new home. I hope it lasts and gives you joy for many years.